Welcome to Season 3, Episode 16 of the Me and ADHD podcast. In this episode, I'm having a conversation about a subject that doesn't seem to be talked about that much, and I'm not sure why, and that's ADHD and pregnancy. And for this conversation, I'm joined by returning guest, psychotherapist Kate Hough, who, completely by coincidence, is pregnant. So welcome, Kate.
Hello, thank you very much for having me back. Yes, very much so pregnant this time.
Oh, it's great to have you back. Great to have you back.
Yeah, just very, very different circumstances. I feel like a lot's changed since the last time I was here.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, that's what we're going to talk about. Well, some of that we're going to talk about right now. Um, okay. So start off with, and how many weeks are you?
I am nearly 33 weeks pregnant now.
Ooh, okay.
Big numbers, strong numbers.
No, absolutely. Not long to go.
No.
So, okay, so we're hearing sort of a lot more about sort of women with ADHD, and rightly so, and talking about the menopause and the menstrual cycle and the hormone sort of changes and the estrogen drops and the dopamine and all the rest. But we don't really hear much about pregnancy, which is kind of, I would have thought would be part and parcel of that conversation. So when it comes to it then, I mean, did you start to feel any difference, in the traits before you suspected you were pregnant?
It's hard to tell because early pregnancy symptoms and ADHD I actually found were quite overlapping to an extent of being tired, feeling overwhelmed, feeling a bit emotional. So it was hard to tell, but what I noticed for myself was I was actually undergoing the process of starting medication when I found out I was pregnant. So I had just got to, always the way, isn't it? I just got to the dose that was going to be my dose.
Okay.
And I was sort of about a week away from being discharged over to shared care. So I would have got my medication sort of through the NHS. But what I've, on reflection, been thinking is I was on a very high dose. I was on sort of the maximum dose of the medication that I was on. And that's what we got to is like okay, well, this is, we can't give you any more. So this is sort of where we're at. That's how we found the dose. So I do wonder when I start my journey again post-pregnancy, whether I would need such a high dose, because I just can't help but think, was I more overwhelmed and feeling I needed a higher dose of medication because actually I was also 3 weeks pregnant?
Okay.
I can't prove it, but I wonder, is it, as we say, we talk about the week before your menstrual cycle and ADHD traits skyrocket around that week. And I do wonder, was I in a constant state of that week? And perhaps that is why I was needing such a high dose of medication. I won't know until obviously I go back on it, but just a sneaky curiosity.
Yeah, it's interesting because you say you don't know right now, but it'd be interesting when you do start back again how it changes.
Because I did definitely notice I was more overwhelmed and just more, like, I guess, a bit scatty, but sort of just not able to concentrate as much. But again, I'm sort of like, what was just my general ADHD, and what was ADHD highlighted because I was pregnant.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot going on.
So how far were you then into the pregnancy when you started feeling some major changes?
Well, I came off the medication as soon as I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
So you can't have medication when you're pregnant. So I called my ADHD clinic, sort of, I think it was the day I had a positive pregnancy test. I was like, help me. And obviously, yes, I've been taking it I was 3 weeks pregnant when I found out. And I would say, well, obviously coming off the medication hit me like a bus because it was doing something despite being pregnant, it was still working. So that I definitely noticed, but I'd say it was probably more around like actually entering the second trimester, so around sort of 12 weeks. That I think it was more so I think I'd got my head around the fact of, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. And I started to tell people I was pregnant. Like, started telling friends and family. I started telling some of my clients. And I think when it dawned on me, I then really, and I sort of, that bubble of, oh, it was just my kind of little secret, mine and my partner's, and trying to get our heads around it. I think once that bubble had kind of popped, ADHD traits skyrocketed because I just felt strangely, now when I think back, so out of control. And I don't think it was just a case of coming off medication. I think it was more a case of I was pregnant, hormonal, emotional. Like with ADHD, you're already very sensitive to emotion. Throw pregnancy hormones on top of that, it's a hard one to write. And I think it all just kind of hit me like a bit of a bus at that point. And yeah, I felt very emotional, very overwhelmed. And RSD has been my key thing, I think, throughout pregnancy.
Okay.
So I think that came on around the same time as well, sort of between about 12 and 24 weeks, I'd say,
Okay.
was the most difficult part of pregnancy. Because it was, funnily enough, that's the time in pregnancy you should feel great. You're sort of in your second trimester, you're not being sick anymore, you're sort of a little bit more, got a bit more energy. And I did physically, pregnancy wise, ticked all those boxes. I had a lovely second trimester. I've been quite fortunate, touch wood, that this pregnancy has been quite smooth. So physically, I did feel fine in my second trimester, but mentally and ADHD wise, I did not feel well. It was okay, like me and my partner, like, been together years, we're having a baby, just bought a house, like, it's all picture perfect. I literally thought he hated me. Like, it was that RSD was so strong, and I'd have to sort of really give myself a talking to regularly. And I needed to speak to him about it. You know, I needed regular reassurance that we were okay and that you definitely do want this baby, right? You know, not all of these things, which now I can laugh at because they seem so silly. But at the time, ADHD was not my friend. ADHD and pregnancy hormones together were just sending my brain into a bit of an overdrive. But that seemed to settle down after about 24 weeks. The
Okay.
RSD sort of seemed to quieten down a little bit, but I also went back to therapy. So I also think that helped because I had a space to talk it through. And I'm not sure I would have done that on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things I've learned over time is it is good to talk. You know,
Mm,
so keeping it to yourself is sometimes it's hard to start talking, but when you do talk, it does feel so much better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely helped me. I think I was just getting to a point where I was like, I want to like we had fertility issues before falling pregnant, and I was sort of like, I've wanted this for so long, and I'm hating every minute of it. It was sort of I was sort of at the point where I was like, I need to go and just talk this through because it's actually getting in my way of enjoying pregnancy and having a happy, healthy pregnancy. Because, as I said, pregnancy in general has been okay, but pregnancy with ADHD has been overwhelming. And it
Yeah.
was that part that I needed to really try and understand and work through. Because, as you said at the beginning, there's not a lot of research out there. So I had to kind of find things out for myself and really learn for myself by just unpicking the thoughts and feelings that I was having and talking them through. Yes, they didn't make rational sense a lot of the time, but it was still helpful to like have my feelings validated because I was struggling to validate them myself.
Yeah. Did you find there were, I know things get more intense, but did you find things ADHD wise were coming to the forefront of your
Mm.
mind that really weren't there before? or maybe like in the background. I know you talked about the RSD, and I don't know if RSD was a massive player in your ADHD life or not. It's massive in mine, but was it like kind of like in the background before and then really jumped to the forefront?
I think RSD was something that I definitely had, to the extent of, let's say I'd be in a conversation with somebody and be like, oh, like, made of that joke didn't land very well, or things like that. But I'd never experienced it to this extent. This was like, it's hard to describe. Like, sounds like I feel it's so it sounds so sad now when I think back. But I mean, but I say between weeks 12 to about 24 of pregnancy, I cried every day, just at least once. Just about, it was just so, I was just so sad with the RSD. Like it was, so it was on a very different level. Before, I say, it was, I just never experienced it to that point. As I said before, it was like oh, like I hope that person's okay. Like, I hope I haven't offended them, or I hope, that joke didn't land very well. And I'd overthink things in that extent. But again, the coping mechanisms I have would help me very quickly and easily overcome those.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, do I need some reassurance? Do I just need to think about this rationally? Like, do I need to look for evidence that, like, I have no evidence that I've actually offended that person, kind of thing? So I would always just be able to draw upon my coping mechanisms as a counsellor and as an ADHD coach. So it was very strange and humbling to then be literally feel hit by a bus by it. And it felt there was nothing I could do to stop it. Like, it did just spiral. And this is making, obviously, ADHD and pregnancy sound awful. It does get better. But there was a period of time where it was crippling. And I couldn't have got through it on my own. I couldn't have got through it without my partner. I couldn't have got through it without my friends. I couldn't have got through it without going back to therapy. It was a really, really difficult time. And yeah, it definitely came forefront of mind, and it was difficult. I couldn't put it back of mind. I sort of couldn't put it back in that box. It was there, and it was there from the moment I opened my eyes to the moment I went to sleep. So that was the most difficult part.
Yeah, it is a tough one to deal with. It really is. Um, okay. So being pregnant then, you do hear obviously people talking about the baby brain, the pregnancy brain, and all the rest.
Yeah.
Can you feel the difference between have you got a pregnancy brain and an ADHD brain? Is there a big difference, or
Yeah.
is it just one mashup?
Yeah, definitely. It's ADHD brain will sort of have me thinking that it'll be overwhelmed. So ADHD brain is definitely present. I'd say so much more so third trimester. Just because it's like, so I need to sort the nursery out. I need to wash all of the clothes. I need to make sure have I ordered everything? Have we got everything ready? That's ADHD brain, of sort of like a squirrel on caffeine in my brain. With lots of lists of all the things that I need to do, and feeling a little bit like claustrophobic with all of that. That's ADHD brain. But pregnancy brain just has me sitting here in my dressing gown forgetting that I'm starting work in 2 minutes, or it has me like putting like the fabric softener in the fridge, kind of thing. Like, that's more pregnancy brain. It's more forgetful, or how do I say silly, but more, they're not, it's just more like, oh God, like I wasn't even thinking. Or I'll say I would relate it to tiredness. It's like when you're really tired and you just sort of make silly mistakes, or say blue when you mean yellow, kind of thing. That's how I describe pregnancy brain. But yeah, ADHD brain is the one that's going at a million miles an hour all the time. And they're very different. Pregnancy brain's a bit slower. ADHD brain's a lot faster.
Yeah, you don't want a double whammy with that. Pregnancy brain
Yeah.
fast and then ADHD fast as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you talked about the medication at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and you came off it. Um, is it the standard that you can't have medication if you're pregnant, or is it a case by case kind of
It's
thing?
the way it was put to myself was, standard, it's a no-go. It's a no-go zone. However, there are some exceptions to that rule, but it does come with risk. So I was told when I called up and I said, just want to double check, I've taken it this morning and I'm pregnant, kind of thing, is this okay? They told me to stop immediately. So there was no sort of, it was hard because there was no sort of, let's, decrease your dose over time. It was just cold turkey, do not take it anymore. And when I asked why, it was more, if it were that you were, let's say you had ADHD and it was quite dangerous for you and your baby in terms of, let's say you were very impulsive and did a lot of drugs, or let's say you had addiction issues, let's say you were quite erratic and maybe doing risk-taking behaviours, these types of things, they would weigh up on a case-by-case basis of, are you actually safer on the medication? Are you and your baby safer on the medication and the risks that may propose? The risks that may pose versus your behaviour if you're not on medication. But obviously, fortunately for me, that wasn't the case. So it was a lot safer for me to just come off the medication. But the risks were more, they said they obviously don't do a lot of studies on this because it's not ethical to do studies on pregnant women. But the evidence they did have of women they had allowed to continue with medication throughout pregnancy had either premature births or stillbirths. So there was a higher risk of these things happening if you were to stay on medication from the little research and evidence they had. But it was more of a better, we'd rather be safe and just tell everybody to stop taking it. You also can't take it when you're breastfeeding. So it's not a case of it will transfer to the baby. So we don't want a baby that's sort of really stimulated because then they're never going to sleep. So yes, you can't have it when you're breastfeeding either. So my plan is they just said, enjoy pregnancy and sort of breastfeed as long as you want to breastfeed, and when you're ready to start the journey of stopping breastfeeding and coming back on medication, then just give us a ring and we'll start the process from the beginning of, start you on the low dose and sort of increase that back up over time.
Okay. Well, it's good that they're on the ball with that. So fantastic.
I feel it gives me a bit of a plan.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to plan around breastfeeding and things. So it really has made me think, obviously, when you don't have ADHD and you're pregnant, breastfeeding is a very personal journey anyway. Pregnancy is a very personal journey anyway. But I suppose it's made me have to consider, well, what's my plan with that going to be? I've had to sort of think about it. Maybe, well, obviously, baby might not take to breastfeeding, but I've really had to think about, is that something I actually want to do? Is that something, breastfeeding versus my mental health and going back on my medication? It's sort of been a bit of a dance that I've been toying with over the last couple of months. And I think there's no right or wrong in that. It's what's best for that individual person. But I think it's an extra thing that ADHD brain has to think about when you are pregnant with ADHD that neurotypical women wouldn't necessarily have to consider.
Yeah. Like I say, there's a lot going on. So you're off your medication. How you manage to deal with your sort of your daily tasks, the daily chores and appointments? How is that become more of a challenge now?
Yes. I would say it's just, again, I don't know how many times I've said it in this podcast, but overwhelming. Like, it's just, life is just a bit more overwhelming when you have pregnancy hormones, extreme fatigue, and ADHD thrown together. So again, daily tasks they don't feel as easy is probably not the right word, but like unloading the dishwasher is a task. It's not just I just get up and I'll just unload the dishwasher and like not even really think about it, just part of your morning routine. It's like I need to remember to unload the dishwasher, and it sort of adds that layer of pressure to it. Like it's like, I need to put that on my to-do list, like a chore I need to do that day. I think that's how it's changed. And obviously, when you're pregnant, you have a lot of extra appointments and things like that, which has been difficult to try and navigate, especially if that's more third trimester, because I've got lots more appointments now because I'm getting to that point where they want to check you every week. So it's sort of difficult for me. Obviously, yes, I'm self-employed and have my clients, so I've got to sort of fit it around things like that. But more so with the, like, again, I understand why this happens and they want to fit as many people in as possible, and the NHS is quite stretched, but changing them last minute is really not helpful for my brain. So managing appointments in that sense can be quite difficult, because I like to have I'm seeing my midwife at 2 o'clock on Monday. That's fine. I can organise around that. I might not do anything all morning because I'm just like in waiting mode, waiting to go and see my midwife. But at least I know it's coming at that time. But then sort of an hour before, when the app tells me, oh, your appointment's been changed to 3:15, I'm like, that doesn't work for me. I was hoping to have my life back by that point. So yeah, it's navigating appointments and things like that can be difficult. But in terms of chores and daily tasks, it's just more really trying to be patient and kind to myself in that. Okay, I've adopted the phrase in pregnancy, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like, if that dishwasher didn't get unloaded, no one's hurt. Like, no, it's fine. If you need a plate, just take it out the dishwasher. Like, it really, and obviously, of course, I've got a partner that can help me out with things. So I'm not just sort of doing it all my own, but it really is a case of, it just doesn't matter. If I'm 5 minutes late for that appointment, it actually doesn't matter. If I need to, even if it's things about, like, if I've needed to rearrange, because there's been a couple of times in pregnancy I've been a bit poorly, like if I've needed to rearrange work, I'm like, at the end of the day, like the bigger picture, it actually doesn't matter. Like, what does matter is your well-being and your baby's well-being.
Absolutely.
The dishwasher's much less important now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Your well-being and the baby's well-being is the most important thing. One of the best pieces of advice we were given, this is after my wife gave birth, is the washing up can wait.
Yeah.
And it was, I know it's quite a weird thing to say, I guess, but it is true. You know that there's other things are priority now. You know, so you don't have to worry about all those things that we used to worry about beforehand. It's now this is a priority. Everything's changed, and you've got to make sure you do look after yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that, I say it's the case for me now of, as long as me and baby are okay, my partner's okay, I'm still, and I say, like, for me, as in my clients do come into it in the extent of, like, as long as I am able to be present for me, baby, my partner, and my work, the dishwasher doesn't matter, the washing up doesn't matter, hoovering doesn't matter, even to extent, bless the poor dog, like, walking the dog doesn't matter. Like, if I used to think, oh God, like, it's cruelty if she doesn't get walked every day. Whereas now I'm like, if you can just walk her every other day, that's fine. Or even if it is, you can walk her, but it's only for 45 minutes, not an hour and a half. That's also okay. Like, because obviously I'm more tired now. So she's had to slow down with me. But again, I used to, at the beginning of pregnancy, I didn't give myself that grace. And now it's very much it really doesn't matter. Like, it will be okay. And I'm really glad, as you said, like, it was when your son was born. Like, I'm really pleased that I've been able to adopt, to an extent, that mentality now, because I think it will serve me well when baby is here. Of, okay, I've not done anything today, but I've kept my baby alive. And that's actually what matters. Like, yes, I've not hoovered. Yes, there's no dinner on the table kind of thing, or I've not done the food shop, but my baby's alive, my baby's well, and we've had lots of cuddles all day, and that's what she needed on that day, and that's okay. So yeah, whereas I think previously that mentality would have been alien to me. So I'm pleased that I'm starting to adopt that mentality now, just before she arrives.
Yeah, you've got to have that inner monologue has got to be there with you on the same page as you, and just making sure that you feel okay about it. I'm not going
Yeah.
to do this. I'm going to do this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sit and just stare at my baby.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
And that's great. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's we said that as well. We just want to stare. We just want to stare and hold our baby and just stare. And even that we just constantly stared when he grew older and he was walking
Yeah.
about, ring about, we were like, oh, we should have stared more.
Oh,
We would have just should have stared a lot more, took
yeah.
more photos. I mean, it was like constantly taking photos, so I couldn't have taken any more if I tried. But
Yeah.
it's I'm glad we did that. I'm glad we
Yeah.
took the time to just, not just have a baby over here, but just to look
Yeah.
at our baby and
Yeah.
be present and in the moment with them.
Yeah. Really soak it in.
Yeah.
I say, because I'm only having sort of 3-4 months off work, unfortunately, self-employed life. So, I really, really am hoping for that time of just being like, yeah, soak her up. Because she's only going to be that little once.
Yeah.
So it's really, I really am looking forward to. I think I've got sort of about 5 weeks left of work now, and I'm really looking forward to. I'm definitely not wishing it away, because I'm going to miss my clients dearly, and I think my identity is something I've been sort of taught, like I'm going to become mum for a couple of months rather than like Kate the psychotherapist for a couple of months. So I'm definitely not wishing that away at all, but I am finding that I'm getting, I don't know if it's nesting, but I'm getting that sort of, oh, I'm excited for baby cuddles now. I'm excited to try and like soak all of that newborn stage up before life comes back at me, sort of when I come back to work and things like that. Just that really nice bubble of time where it's just going to be, and it's going to be over Christmas as well. So sort of me, baby, my partner over Christmas, and of course the dog. As just that little unit is something I'm really excited about.
Oh, first Christmas.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I just hope, I hope she's here. If you're listening, but don't be late. Mom won't be very happy then. Yeah, if she's, yeah, if I go, I'm due on the 12th of December, so hoping that Madam is earlier on time. Because if she's late and she pushes herself into Christmas and I can't enjoy my Christmas dinner, then I won't be pleased.
I want my Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I want my Christmas dinner. All the midwives are saying, oh, but you'll be in the paper if she's born on Christmas Day. I'm like, I don't want to be in the paper. I want her to be in my arms.
I know it's true. It's truly amazing. The first Christmas we had, it was just okay. Everyone else away. It's just me, my wife, and our little baby, and it was just so nice, so calm, and just full of love, just full of love. It's amazing.
And it's those moments that have I think got me through those difficult points of RSD and overwhelm and the crying about the dishwasher. It's those moments where I actually, when I actually think about what does matter, I go, literally, I can feel as we've had that conversation, my sort of whole body goes, like, remembering what you're doing it for and what's actually important is so key.
Yeah.
So I think getting through pregnancy when you have ADHD.
Yeah. It'll all be worth it. It's all worth it.
All worth it in the end.
So what's one coping strategy then that you've, I guess, used for work, but it kind of doesn't seem as effective right now? So what you did beforehand, is there anything that's sort of like, okay, that's not, I need to put other things in place now because what was working well, it just isn't working now?
I would say the biggest thing was my rational brain just kind of vanished on me. So my usual coping strategies for things that I'd struggle with, sort of like more, when I say intrusive thoughts, I mean more sort of intrusive RSD thoughts of like, I went through a phase of like a month of like, my partner doesn't love me anymore. He doesn't actually want this baby. It's like, not like we've been trying for a baby for all this time. So, usually if I'd ever, as I said to you before, it had never been to that extent, but if I had overwhelming thoughts or like when my brain was really busy just with like, oh, I need to do this, I'd very much be able to rationally sort of sit myself down, get my toolkit out and go, okay, what evidence do you have for this feeling that you have right now? Or I'd maybe feel more confident to just sort of maybe face that anxiety head on. So let's say I had a social anxiety previously, maybe I was a bit nervous about going on a sort of a night out with friends or something like that. I would previously actually just be able to really override that switch and be like, if sort of creating a plan of, okay, so if the worst happens, this is how I'm going to respond to it. So I can now throw myself headfirst into this event without fearing that that worst case scenario is going to happen, because I know what I will do as a response if it were to happen. So I felt a lot more confident, a lot more in control, and that combats anxiety when you feel more in control.
Yeah.
So that's my like go-to thing of, if I'm feeling anxious, it's because I'm feeling out of control. What do I need to do? I need to plan. I need to try and feel more in control. And that would really work for me. So yeah, I'd just sort of be able to throw myself in there head first. However, pregnancy has been a little bit different. So that went out the window because I think my confidence went out the window, to be honest. I think I didn't feel, one, my rational brain wasn't particularly firing on all cylinders, so I couldn't get myself out of that hole as easily, and I couldn't challenge it as easily. But I also didn't particularly have the confidence to just try and override that switch and walk into that room and sort of face the worst if it were to happen.
Yeah.
Because I was a lot more insecure. I feel a bit more vulnerable being pregnant. Like because I think you don't, like, I'm sure a lot of pregnant women will understand what I mean when I say this. You're not yourself. It's because your whole body is different, your hormones are different, your way of thinking is different, emotionally you're reacting differently to things, like you just don't feel like yourself. And it's a really big change for somebody with ADHD who doesn't like change. So I think for me, that was the coping mechanism that kind of has always been my go-to, that then just didn't feel accessible because I didn't feel like myself to be able to put that coping mechanism in place.
Yeah. That's do you think it will go back afterwards, or would you stay with what you're doing now?
I've been thinking, I hope it will go back. I think it'll be different. I'm not expecting, I think a lot of what I struggled with throughout pregnancy was like this loss of identity. And that's where this all sort of the RSD and everything was sort of really firing in. And I've come to terms to say, when I did go back to therapy, the main thing I've taken from it is, well, I am, but like you're going to be a mom. Like, you're not going to go back to the Kate you were before. That doesn't mean that she's not dead. She's not disappeared, but she's going to evolve. So I'm not going to exactly go back to how I was before, because I'm going to have a lot of different responsibilities. I'm going to have a lot of different priorities in life, and I'm going to be a mum. So no, I don't think it's going to go back exactly how it was before, but I do think I will get my logical brain back a little bit more, and my rational brain back a little bit more, because the hormones will just be different. I think obviously, yes, I'm going to go through that massive drop postpartum, but I would hope that from the sort of research I've done and conversations I've had with my midwife about hormones, that sort of a couple of months post birth, sort of 3 to 6 months after birth, I should hopefully start to feel a little bit more leveled out in terms of hormones. I'll be then returning to work at that point and get that part of my identity back. And I do think that, say, as much as I'm so excited for that bubble of just me, my partner, and the baby and the dog, I do think when I return to work, I will get more of those sort of like grounding back in how to cope with ADHD, potentially going back on my medication, going back to work, feeling just more like me. I think will help increase my confidence to get my toolkit back out again and be able to deal with things similarly to how I usually would. It's slightly different because I'm going to have different perspectives. I'm going to have gone through a lot in that time, but more like I used to before.
Do you think, with all the changes that are happening and going to continue to happen as well, Do you find that, or have you found, I should say, that your sensory sensitivities, if that's the right phrase to use,
Mm.
have they changed? Have they increased or decreased or new ones?
Hmm. Um, Definitely new ones in pregnancy because I mean, again, this is what's pregnancy, what's ADHD. Because pregnancy, you get very sensitive to smells and certain tastes. ADHD wise, the only sensory sensitivity I had particularly was light. So, and light and sound. So, I've never liked bright lights. And I've never liked very loud environments. Those things definitely were exaggerated with pregnancy. A new one that I had was sort of textures and tastes, and it was that was pregnancy and ADHD working against each other because pregnancy would, let's say, want a certain thing, but if ADHD brain didn't want that, like couldn't, like it was maybe not the right texture, or if I couldn't have it, like it just wasn't in the house, it was 11 o'clock and the shops were closed kind of thing, I just wouldn't eat because I'm like, well, that's what I want. Like that ADHD pregnancy brain, I think would have been like, oh, that's disappointing, but I'll have something else. Like I really wanted that, but I'll swap for that. ADHD brain was like, nope, it's that or nothing.
Mm.
And that was something I really had to be like, I ate toast for a long time. um, because my partner was like, right, you can't eat nothing. So that like that's not an option because you now have a baby to look after. So it was very much like, oh, I'll just have some toast then. If I couldn't have that thing that I particularly wanted. The same for aversions, though, sort of food aversions. Something that used to really give me like a dopamine hit, let's say, with ADHD. Pregnancy brain didn't like pregnancy, well, not brain, but like pregnancy tummy didn't like it. Um,
Right.
so that was very much like, oh, I can't get that little hit that I used to get from that thing, like coffee, for example. You can't. I mean, I was only on decaf anyway, with being on ADHD meds, so that was fine, sort of pregnancy wise, because you can't have caffeine. But it was like, oh, I just used to like having my decaf coffee multiple times a day, and that would give me that little sort of like boost of dopamine. And I just can't drink coffee. It was the number one thing that was just making me feel very unwell. And the smell of it made me feel so unwell in the first trimester of pregnancy. Like I said to my partner, I was like, if you're having coffee, you're having it out of the house. um, so yeah, it was sort of things like that that have been different, I'd say, with pregnancy. Where both cravings and aversions have been something to navigate.
Was there anything weird? Anything like,
Hmm.
you all hear the stories of, want pickle on crisps or whatever, I
Yeah,
don't know.
pickle in a jar. Mm, it's not definitely. I wouldn't say it's weird, but my main one, like I think I've been sponsored by chocolate hobnobs this pregnancy. I the amount like so many packets of those I went through at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, it was, yeah, chocolate hobnobs, jam on toast was a good one for my first trimester. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't really. I bet if it was, I bet there's something that's so weird that I'm like, oh, I can't even think about it. I know I definitely went off. I was very sort of annoying pregnant in the fact of, say, I craved chocolate hobnobs and went off broccoli. Like I used to really. I'm a big fruit and veg girl. Like I really did used to love. Like my plate we used to be like sort of 50% veg, and then yeah, like bit of meat, bit of carbs. Whereas I looked at veg and retched. So it was just, oh, I'll have, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, pack of chocolate hobnobs. And that was my pregnancy. And just things that were really cold. Like
Okay.
really like ice cold water was lovely. Um I can't think of anything too weird. I'm sure there's something that it feels so long. The first trimester feels so long ago now. I feel like I could be talking about a different pregnancy. Like, and I'm like, oh, nope, still pregnant. Still pregnant.
Well, to be fair, it's for quite a long time, isn't it? So yeah, it's
Yeah.
now as a lot of us ADHDers, not everyone obviously, but we tend to, when we get diagnosed and all that, and when we find something out, we tend to, jump down the rabbit hole and spend our life just like researching and finding out
Mm.
everything about ourselves. Did you do that regarding the pregnancy and ADHD, or is it kind of like, you just playing
Mm.
it how it goes, really?
To be honest, there wasn't a lot of research out there. I think that was half the battle. As you said earlier, there's a lot of conversation now around the menstrual cycle in ADHD and the menopause and ADHD. It's another one that's coming out a lot more now. But I didn't deep dive. I mean, ChatGPT became my best friend at one point of like, can I eat this? Can I not eat this? But that was the amount that I particularly researched. It was more just generally, I think, not necessarily about ADHD and pregnancy, but more ADHD made me research pregnancy a lot.
Right.
So I deep dived into researching about pregnancy because of my ADHD, but I didn't research about the effects that they had on each other. That's something I kind of just learned by experience because it wasn't something that was ever really highlighted to me, that like no one highlighted to me this pregnancy is probably going to be harder because you have ADHD. That was something I've really had to kind of advocate for myself throughout the pregnancy. So it only when you go for like your 6 week check-in appointment of like you've done a positive pregnancy test and you kind of get registered as
Yeah.
being pregnant, they ask you, have you got any conditions, things like that, and I would tell them about ADHD. They'd talk to me, oh, how do you feel being off your meds? And that was like a very brief conversation, and that was that. It was on my record, but it's never really been considered
Right.
until I waved my hand and was like, that's when I sort of waved my hand, sort of, as I said to you earlier, between that 12 and 24 week mark, and said, I'm really struggling here, with this. And I think it is because pregnancy and ADHD are battling together. And that's when they started taking it a little bit more seriously and we started having more conversations about it. At that point, I did get referred to a mental health midwife as well. So I have my midwife, like my community midwife. And then I got referred to a mental health midwife who developed a birth plan with me around ADHD, which was really nice.
That's good.
So now I have a plan in place so it hasn't really affected me. I haven't really had support for ADHD throughout pregnancy, but they have now started to think about, okay, when you go to give birth, that's going to be sensory overload. So there's a plan in place now on my record of keep the lights dim where you can, quiet voices, only people who need to be in the room be in the room, so it's not like as chaotic and overwhelming. What else have I got in there? Obviously, she discussed with me, this isn't on my plan, but about like if there's certain smells that you want to bring in, or sort of things like that can help with that sensitivity. Bring in like earbuds if like the sort of beeps and things are gonna cause you stress, and just thinking about it more. And I think again, I would have maybe struggled to think about those things on my own. Whereas
Yeah.
it's been nice to actually speak to that midwife because she also knows a lot more about birth than I do. So she could be like, okay, this is probably something that's going to be triggering, or this is probably something that's going to be triggering. So how can we plan for that rather than you go through one of the biggest moments of your life and then just have a meltdown?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was not necessarily something that I deep dived research into, but it's something that is now being talked about, which is good.
Yes. No. No, absolutely. Hey, maybe you could write a book about it. Okay, so we're going through the pregnancy. You got the birth plan and everything. So, have you started looking and preparing for after? So, when the baby's here, and you've got the usual sleepless nights,
Mhm.
no sleeping at all.
Yeah.
You've got all that going on. Have you
Yeah.
sort of looked at that and sort of try to think about putting things in place to help with that?
Yes. That, because again, that was something that was causing me a lot of anxiety in that difficult period of like, what are we doing? How are we going to cope with this? Again, those anxieties of, well, if I've got to go back to work, then what we're going to do about childcare and all things like this. So definitely was really important to me to think about life after birth. So I needed to be, me and my partner have had countless conversations about obviously it's a plan, it's a work in progress, but more of a case of we're always a very good team, and it's important for me that we stay a team rather than two individuals working against each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's that, okay, well, if I'm doing a feed, then I'm going to pass her over to you, and then you can do nappy change and burping, and then we're sort of things like that. So, yeah, definitely a plan around how we're going to deal with sleepless nights. I mean, he's used to, with the job that he does and shifts, he's quite used to not getting a lot of sleep, to be fair. So it'll be me more so that I think will struggle with the lack of sleep. So I've had to have conversations with him like, I am probably going to be mean to you at times, and I'm not going to mean it, and I need you to know I'm not going to mean it. But we've sort of developed a bit of a plan of, okay, if we do think one or the other is getting like a bit overwhelmed, because my partner's neurodiverse as well, so if one or the other is getting a bit overwhelmed, what are we going to do about that? How are we going to step in when we notice that to help remove that person from the situation and give them that time?
Yeah.
So again, baby's not here yet. I really hope all these plans do go ahead, but it's been important for us to talk about it and think about it, and to really ask. I thought I'm going to find it easier to ask for help now than I will when baby's here, I imagine.
Yeah.
So I've already had conversations with like my mom and my partner's mom about, nanny daycare, and especially say with us both going back to work so quickly, it's like, okay, we're going to need a village. So I need to let my village know now that, this is our situation. These are the things we're anticipating finding difficult. How can we put some structure and plan in place now to make that as smooth as possible? And it was overwhelming to think about, but I think now it's been thought about and I've had those conversations, I feel a lot more calm. And I feel sort of ready to go into birth as much as you can, to go into labour. It's obviously I'm still working at the moment, so I'm not practically ready. And she's not cooked enough yet, but I'm not going into labour thinking, oh God, what am I going to do when I get home kind of thing. It's very much okay, like I've got a plan and it's going to be difficult and things are not going to go to plan, but at least we've had conversations about what our preferences would be and contingency plans if the plan A doesn't go to plan and things like that. So yeah, definitely was important to think about. Otherwise, I think I wouldn't be sat here as calm right now.
It's so much. I mean, even for someone who isn't ADHD, there's a lot to think about and to cope with and to navigate through when it comes to pregnancy. But definitely with the ADHD on top, there are quite a lot of big things added to it.
Yeah, I could just see, like, for example, the conversation about going back on medication has been a big one for me, because I could just see, okay, I'm going back to work after 3 or 4 months. Baby's downstairs, baby's screaming. I'm up here trying to be present with a client. I am going to have a meltdown if that plan is not set. Yeah. So almost like if I've not, like, my medication would obviously help with that a lot, because I'd be a lot more able to focus and emotionally able to regulate a lot better. But I say, like, plan with my partner of, okay, so if that happens, what's the plan going to be? Like, okay, so, like, can we look at settling, like, how we're going to settle her, and sort of, like, I'm going to be unavailable and things like that. So it's been really important for us to have those conversations for reasons such as, sort of adding the ADHD layer to it of overstimulation, like touch, sound, all these things, like, it's going to be high. Yeah. So that's something we need to plan for.
Yeah, Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you said, if you key is working as a team,
Yeah.
having that conversation, having that communication,
Yeah.
um, and being there for each other
Hmm.
to allow you to be there for the baby.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like the baby's only going to be as well as we both are.
yeah,
So it does have to start with us.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Oh, I love babies. Oh, I love that. I love that age. I really did. I find obviously I haven't been pregnant, obviously, but I found obviously when we had our son, there's so many things that started when he got a little bit older that I didn't realize what all these
Mm.
sensory issues
Yeah.
that I had. But one thing I did find that kind of annoys and overwhelms a lot of people is the baby crying.
Mm.
I loved it. Not
Wow.
as in like, hey, I'll poke the baby again. Yes, cry. No, I mean,
Cry for me.
but it's one thing. Even now, when I'm at work and there are people coming around with the babies and they're crying and all that, I love the sound of babies crying. It doesn't overwhelm me. It doesn't
Right.
um, frustrate me or annoy me or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's a very innocent thing. As they
Mm.
get older, no, please stop crying. But as a
Yeah.
baby, it's really and I found that really okay, which is good
Yeah.
because if I got overwhelmed with that, um, you know, not having the hormonal aspect of
Mm.
it as women do, I would have found that really hard to deal with because there's a lot of crying and all that. But
Yeah. And I hope that I can get to that kind of place. At the moment, I definitely would say I'll find it overstimulating. Just mainly, I mean, we're going to antenatal classes and they played a sound of a baby crying the other day and I was like, oh God. um, but I know when it's my baby, again, I do think it's going to be different. And you're going to get used to it. I'm going to have to get used to it. But I do think a mentality I'm trying to adopt to kind of get to where what you're talking about is my baby is crying because it's trying to communicate with me. And that's the only way that she's going to know how to communicate with me. And like, right, like she has been like, and sort of trying not to get frustrated, like if she cries when I put her down and things like this, because it's like, well, she's been literally attached to me and on me for 9 months. I am all she knows. So, of course, she's going to be then in this bright room with loads of noises, and she's going to be cold and hungry for the first time. And, it's like thinking of it from an ADHD perspective, like, that's so, like, all her senses are off because she's used to the dark, she's used to the warm, she's used to the sound of my heartbeat. She's all of these comforts, she's just being stripped away from. Of course, she's going to cry. I'd cry. So it's that I think that's I'm really trying to think of it that way of having empathy, I guess, for the baby in terms of like, from what I know of ADHD and sensory sensitivities. Of course, when all the bright lights are on, she's not going to like it because she's not had that for all that time. So I need to give her time to adjust, the
yeah,
same as I need time to adjust. So it's that kind of like no judgment zone for both. We're both learning together to adjust to all of these different sensory sensitivities.
I think it's like I guess going to be one of the times that a lot of the ADHD traits are going to come in handy because you got the overthinking, but because it's your baby, it's not it's you're trying to work out what's going on kind of thing. The
Yeah.
baby's crying, but the baby's crying because of this. No, okay, how about this? You're
Mm.
going down the list of all the different things you could try, and that's your like your process, and that's your
Yeah.
ADHD
Yeah.
brain going through it all. And you say about the empathy as well, kind of
Mm.
relating to the
Yeah.
baby and everything. Okay, so with all of this in mind, um, what words of advice or words of wisdom um, could you give any ADHD women out there who are thinking that they are pregnant or they've just found out that they're pregnant? What could you say?
Ooh. Use your village if you have one, you know, and find a village if you don't, because it can be a very, very overwhelming place, and this isn't about being a hero. Like, I would say it's too much to just try and process in your own brain. Speak to your partner, speak to your family, speak to your friends, speak to a therapist, speak to anybody, speak to other mums. Find a village of people. Somebody will. One person may not understand the entirety. That what I found was that not one person understood exactly how I was feeling, but this person understood that element and that person understood that element, and together with my village, I felt very supported when I opened my mouth and started talking about how I was feeling. The moment I did that, life got better.
Yeah.
The cloud lifted. So use your village. You do not have to. It's a very overwhelming time, and you do not have to go through it on your own.
That's good words, good advice. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming back. It's been great. It's been absolutely great. And thank you all for listening. As always, guys, be good, be kind, and remember, you're not alone. Thank you.